Hello. Now imagine your HR team just handed you a list of 500 active employees and then a separate list of employees who've been terminated. Now they want only the people still working. Now, most people, which is, there's nothing wrong with this concept, most people would build a VLOOKUP table, build a helper column, and maybe even filter it by hand. But in Power Query, there's one function that wipes terminated employees from the list in a single step, and most people never heard of it. So let me show you exactly how to build this from scratch. But first, before we go into Power Query, let me show you what we're working with. We have two tables in this workbook. One of them called terminated employees, which is right here. So if we go up to the upper right, go to the ribbon and click on table design, I already created a table out of this called term emp. And basically it's just a list of employees and their end dates. End dates meaning that they no longer work with the company for whatever reason. The other table that we're working with is this table right here. Again, it's an Excel table already named up here in the upper left called active imp. Okay. And what we're going to do is basically this table right here is called, it's got employees' names, end dates, and department. However, this table includes not only currently active employees, but it includes the list of all employees that came through the table, through the company. And they've also are no longer working with the company. So end date means, okay, they've they're no longer working with the company. And if they have a null, that means that they're still working with the company. So knowing that up front, now let's load these tables into Power Query. So we go up to Data, Get Data, From File, and From Workbook. So we're just waiting for it to load up now. Give it a second. And what this does, it brings up that navigator, Power Query Navigator. And this is the table, or this is the workbook that we brought up. And what it does, it lists out the sheets and the tables that are within that specific workbook. Now, you could tell by what's a table and a sheet by these little icons here on the left. Now, you could see here, these are tables and these are sheets. You could see uh, uh, little tabs down here. So those are the sheets. But what we want to do is we want to load the tables only. So if we select multiple items and we click on each table that we want loaded, come down here, bottom right, transform data. Brings up the Power Query editor. And what it does, it automatically brings these two tables into their individual queries. So these are the contents of it. So what we want to do is now we want to build a query, a blank query that's going to extract from this table only active employees. And we could do that within Power Query M code. And I'm going to paste in some code here and we're going to walk through it together. So first of all, we want to create a blank query. So we go up to the Home tab, over here on the right, New Source, Other Sources, then Blank Query. And then from here is we want to come over here to the right and call this something like Current EMP Employees. And then we're going to, let's do this. Okay. And then we want to select that blank query. We want to go up to the Advanced Editor in the Home tab. And I'm going to paste in the M code to this and we'll walk through it. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to make some slight changes right now. I'm going to comment out some code, and then we're going to walk through it step by step to see what this does here. Okay, so let's first of all, let's comment out these rows. And we're going to get rid of this comma up here. And we want to copy this down to n because that's what we want to return. Now it should work, but basically what this first line of code does, it says let's go into the current workbook, the workbook that we loaded, okay, and we're going to find the name table in that workbook called active employees. That's what this name equal argument is. And then this content around square brackets just basically means that let's pull the contents of that table into this variable here that we got over here. And so that's what that does. So let's click done. Okay, so this is the contents of the active employee table. So that's what that line of code does. Let's go back up to the advanced editor and let's do the same thing for the terminated employees. Let's first comment out this. Okay, let's get rid of this comma. Okay, and let's call this now. It brought the contents of the terminated employee table into here. So we got the contents of both of them. Now let's get back to the advanced editor and let's do something else here. Let's click on advanced editor. Okay, let's comment this out. Okay, and let's put a comma here because we got more steps to be applied. That's why we put a comma after each one. And let's get rid of the comments here. And I'm going to walk through this step by step here. Let's copy this variable name down here. Okay, and what I'm going to be also doing is I want to show you the results of what Table.ToRecords returns. Okay, so let's give me a second here. So let's first run this code here. So basically what that code does was it compared both tables based upon certain criteria, and it brought back only the current employees. So let's go through this step by step here. So first of all, let's go back into the advanced editor. And first, before we go through what this Table.RemoveMatchingRows does, I want to show you exactly, give you a visual of what Table.ToRecords returns. So let's go out here. Let's create a new blank query. Home, new source, blank query. And I'm going to paste in this code here. And I'll show you what basically what this is doing is we're going to be passing in the contents of this table right here, term employees, into ToRecords because we want to return it as records, and you'll see why in a second. So let's press enter, and what it does, it brings back a list, and this list contains basically the same number of rows as term employees, but it contains a record. Each value contains a record. As you can see, if I click on one, it contains the first record, John, and then the end date. Go over here and it returns Sarah, then the end date if you look on the bottom left. So if we go up to term employees here, you can see the first two records are like that. So that's what it's basically returning. So let's go back over here and let's explain this code here. Advanced Editor. Okay, so let's go to the third line of code. It says Table.RemoveMatchingRows. And so the first argument here is basically the active employee temp table, which is from this workbook. So that's the first argument. Okay, the second argument, we're going to be passing in, wrapping it with the records that you just saw into the second argument. And then this third argument here, the two records, what it does is converts our term employee table into a list of records, as you saw. Think of each record as a row fingerprint, a combination of values that uniquely identifies that row. So instead of a table with columns and headers, we now have a list that looks like what you just saw there, which is it shows the employee's name and then their end date and so forth. And it shows that for each record in the term employee table or query. So that's what, and the Table.RemoveMatchingRows needs it to be in that specific format. It can't compare against a table directly. It needs a list of records to check against. So that's what it is. Now, what is argument 3? What are we showing here in this argument here? Well, we're passing in a list basically because it's enclosed within curly brackets. We know that's a list. And this is critical to understand. We are telling Power Query that match on both employee name, okay, and the end date together. So there's got to be an employee name and an end date matching together between the two tables. Not just one of them, but both. So why does this matter? What if you had two employees named John? One was terminated last January. The other John is still actively working. So if we only matched on the employee name, then Power Query, based upon this Table.RemoveMatchingRows function, what it does is a row gets removed if the name and the date is both matched correctly. Basically, if we only matched on the John itself, it would return an error, including the one who is still on payroll. So by matching on employee and end date together, we are creating a unique footprint for each terminated row. A row only gets removed if the name and the date both match exactly. That protects employees who share the same name but have a different employment status. So basically that's what it's doing. So compared the two queries, two tables, and it goes to each table record by record, and it looks at the employee column and the end date column, and it matches on both. And remember, if we go back here, if we go back to active employee here, remember we have an employee column and an end date column. Now remember, in the terminated employee, it has both these columns and they have end dates in them. So once it comes over here to this record, Kevin, it's going to look in the terminated employee table. It doesn't find Kevin, but it also doesn't find a terminated date either. So that's why we have a current employee list now. So we able to now extract exactly what we need, which is just a list of people who are currently working for the company. So at this point, you could load this back into your Excel by going to close and load to as a table. And now you have a list of only currently active employees. Now, let's recap on what we built. We loaded the entire workbook in one shot so Power Query could see to both tables. We set active employee and term employee tables as a connection only, and we created a blank query called current employee and wrote these lines of M code that we showed here. Now the line 1 again pulled the active employees, line 2 pulled the terminated list, and the third line of code, basically the Table.RemoveMatchingRows, with 2 matching columns in both those tables to produce a clear, clean, accurate list of only the employees still working for the company. Hopefully I was able to explain everything clearly to you. Again, look for more Power Query tutorials in the future, and I want to thank you for stopping by today. You have a great day. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and as always, please like and share this video. And I'll catch you on the next video. Bye now.